Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Thomas Clan. Today is part 3 of 4 of our garden planning series. The layout, obviously, having a plan, a map is, or a layout in this case, is extremely important to making sure that you have success, that you know exactly what you need and you don't waste any time getting things that you don't need. Oh, thank you. So, quick disclaimer, the quantities that you'll see there are wrong in the picture. Basically the spacing is correct, so when you see a block, generally it's a 3x10, and the middle area is like a 3x5 or 3x6. So let's get right to it, and let's take a look at the garden for the lodge first. Okay, so here we have a look at the lodge garden. For the purposes of this layout, this picture that you're looking at, I just want to let you know that the top of the screen is north, the bottom is south, and obviously to the right is east, and to the left is west. So you'll see with the way that I laid out and am planning my garden, the taller vegetables, the corn, the tomatoes, cucumbers, which will vine up a trellis that I'm going to build, are all towards the back of the garden, so that way the smaller vegetables toward the front, or the shorter plants anyway, toward the front, aren't shaded out. The only taller plant that I'm going to be growing would be the sunflower, which you see all the way to the east of that middle row. And being that it's all the way to the east and that there's only going to be a handful with some spacing, that they're not going to be shading out and doing too much damage as far as the amount of sunlight goes to the other plants around them. You'll also notice that down in the front you see some smaller boxes. Now everything is planned out essentially with a 3-foot by 10-foot blocking area with spacing of either 1.5 feet or 2 feet in between each row, depending on the spacing that's needed, the type of plant that it is. For example, the tomatoes and the corn will get 2 feet in between to allow for better airflow and also for the lighting situation. And then the smaller plants, like in between the cabbage and the onion beds, or in between, or on the other side with the lettuce, carrots, and beets, smaller plants are only going to be 1.5 feet apart. Because they're not going to need as much space from one another to block out from the sun, to make sure that they get enough sunlight. You'll also notice that this year we're going to have some flowers around the garden. Right now I don't plan on putting in too many, but I do want to have some. Marigolds and nasturtiums are well known for attracting beneficial insects like ladybugs, which eat aphids and other pests that can wreak havoc in your garden, especially with the nightshade plants like tomatoes or potatoes or eggplants and peppers. And then you'll also notice in the southwest corner, that's where I'm putting all of our herbs. Now this entire garden is in an open area that's going to get a pretty equal amount of sunlight. So these herbs are going to get a lot of sunlight, but by having them off to the side, it'll allow them to not be kind of intertwined with the other vegetables, which should allow them to thrive a little bit better than they did in last year's garden. So that's the basic overview of what we're going to be doing in this year's garden. If you do want any more details on how I'm laying this garden out, how I figured this out, please drop a comment below in the box. And let's take a look at the garden that we're putting into the cabin. Okay, so this is a look at the garden that we're going to be growing at our family's vacation home, as I call it, the cabin. So again, the top of the screen is north, the bottom is south, to the right is east, to the left is west. Also, we're very lucky that this is also a very open area where there will be lots of sunlight, plenty to go around for the entire garden. So as you can see, I put the corn up in the northeast corner again, and next to I actually put dry beans or pole beans that will be growing, black beans, kidney beans, pinto beans,
basically anything else that we're growing that we're going to plan on using as dry beans, we're going to be growing there. Next to that, you can see 2 beds of perennial plants. You see both asparagus and strawberry. We may also put some rhubarb in that area as well to really create a nice basic perennial area. So that way, it's a little less that we have to do every year. Now, like our lodge garden, the quantities that you see, or the estimated quantities that you see with the pictures of the plants, are actually wrong with a few exceptions. You can see that there's 4 tomato plants here. That will be correct. You can see 3 winter squash and 3 pumpkin plants. Those will be correct. But at the same time, the Swiss chart is incorrect. The cabbage is very incorrect. Those are 10-foot rows, so we'll probably have 6 of each in those rows. We're still going to do high density, but when we prepare for the carrots and beets directly into the ground, we're not going to be doing the 1-inch spacing, or the 2 to a spot. We're going to be doing 1 to each spot, about 1.5 inches apart in those cases. And if one doesn't grow, oh well, we have an empty space. Just because this is a garden that we don't go to a lot, where, as I said before, we're there about once every 4 to 6 weeks, and so we don't want things overcrowded where we'd have to be thinning the plants a lot, for the simple reason that we won't be there to thin. So if there's a few empty spaces, that will be okay. For a lot of these vegetables, these are just extra, like the carrots and the beets. The dry beans, we're going to do as much as we reasonably can. Same thing with the corn. Just because they're either going to grow or they're not. But again, we're only going to put 1 seed per place, and if it grows, it grows. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So if you have any questions on this garden, again, drop that comment below and let us know, and I'd be more than happy to explain everything to you. And I can't tell you how excited I am to bring you guys along once we finally get up there to my family's home and start getting this ready.
Alright, so that's pretty much everything for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe our video. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Phone, right, phone.
Daddy.
And from all of us here at the Thomas Clan, we want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. And we hope to see everybody again very soon. Next week's video, part 4. So again, like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.